So we've got a couple of questions on here about speaking to their parents about their sexuality. So yeah, like this is a conversation we hear about quite a lot, and it's a really difficult conversation to have. And I'll be honest, this came up quite a bit in our thread at the beginning of the week. So I went away to have a chat with a couple of charities this week to see what their experiences was. And the main thing that came back was there is no one piece of advice that we can give to everybody on this thread that will work, because every parent is going to respond differently. But there was a few tips that they said could make it easier. So the first one they said was to not take your parents' first reaction as their ultimate reaction to what you've got to say, because it can be a bit of a shock to parents, and there's almost like a small kind of grieving process. So lots of parents, whether they admit it or not, have mentally pictured the next 25 years of your life, and suddenly their picture has to change, and that can be quite difficult for parents, and it can take a little bit of getting used to. So their advice would maybe not to take the initial reaction as kind of gospel, but also in the preparation for telling your parents about your sexuality, kind of having that conversation with yourself, almost, of being prepared that the initial reaction might be one of shock, and what do you have planned to support yourself during that. So it might be after you've told your parents you've planned to go and spend some time with some friends, or you've planned to go out and do something you enjoy doing, or you've planned to go to a hobby, something that reinforces in yourself that actually their reaction is not, it's not about, it's not you necessarily, it's that they've got to have some time to cope. So that was one piece of quite nice advice that they had to give. And they were also saying, thinking about, like, again, and I know we've said this loads in this stream and in this thread, thinking about time and location, making sure that actually there's not loads of distractions. If you are closer to one parent than the other, you so don't have to talk about it to both at the same time. You can talk to one and then talk to another, that's fine. They were saying, you know, in terms of preparing, thinking about what is it you want them to take away from the conversation? And I guess this applies to any conversation you have with your parents, not just about sexuality. So what is the message you're trying to get across? What is it you wanted them to take away? And did you want anything back from them? And being really clear what it was that you wanted back from them. And kind of, again, having that written down somewhere you can use it to reinforce and remind you if you need to, which I thought was really, really helpful. So that was a really nice piece of advice. And then, hang on, let me check my notes because I made some notes. We've done that. Okay. So the other piece of advice, and I think this was actually the most important, is reminding your parents that for you, nothing has changed, but everything has. So you are still the same person that you were 5 minutes ago before you told them that what was happening. But everything has changed because you felt able to have this conversation with them, which means everything's changed for the better, because you've been able to say that actually this was difficult for me and now I can talk to you about it. But that you as a person, you're the same person you were before you spoke to them 5 minutes ago. And I thought that was a really nice message to generally leave those conversations on, and planning and thinking about what that would look like before you say it can really help with that panic in advance.